Hello movie lovers and welcome to The Real Movie Buff, where you can join me as I watch a movie and give a commentary on the film. Scene by scene, I'll explain my favorite aspects of it and state a few things I may have done differently. Today it's a film that is based on one of the greatest books of all time, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. For Narnia! Now this first shot is a reference to a scene in the book where Caspian is shown two planets in the night sky crossing over each other. And fun fact, those two planets are called Tarva and Alambil. But anyway, the film opens in Narnia with the birth of Prince Caspian's stepbrother. Even though Caspian is the rightful king since his father was king, Caspian's father died, and Caspian's uncle Miraz, played by Sergio Castellitto, is the king, and has been hoping for a son of his own, so that his son, not his nephew Caspian, can be king after him. Given the news that his son is born, to ensure Caspian does not become king, he sends soldiers in the middle of the night to kill Caspian. But Caspian's professor, Dr. Cornelius, played by Vincent Grass, overhears of the plot and rushes to help the prince, played by Ben Barnes, and informs him of Miraz's plot. Even though Ben Barnes obviously looks like a prince, the issue that I have with his casting is that he is much too old for the part. I always envisioned Caspian to be a boy, somewhere around 13 or maybe 14 years old. Andrew Garfield auditioned for the role of Prince Caspian. Rushing to the stables, Caspian gets a horse to escape into the night. Before he goes, Cornelius gives Caspian a special gift, the horn of Queen Susan, who was one of the four who ruled Narnia in the old time. The horn is magic and can summon help whenever it was blown. I love the shots of the fireworks with the epic castle. This tambourine voice here is Douglas Gresham, a stepson of the book's author, C.S. Lewis. Ben Barnes spent 2 months in New Zealand learning how to ride a horse to prepare for the film. The first film, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think did a decent job of following the book. And this one kinda does too, but not quite as much. It differs from the book quite a bit near the middle of the movie. Another difference from the book is that Caspian blows the horn very early on in the film. And in the book, he blows it after he meets the Narnians. And now the story goes to London, England, to the four Pevensey children, who are at the train station on their way to school. I like the lion statue here as a nod to Aslan. By the way, Aslan is the Turkish word for lion. Even though this scene with Peter isn't in the book, I like it because it hints at how hard it must have been for Peter to be a boy who becomes a high king in a magical land, who reigns there for years, only for him to return to the real world as a teenage boy again, and has to deal with teenage things like school and bullies. He misses being the high king. Now the four children feel a strange sensation and are magically brought back to Narnia. This location in New Zealand, called Cathedral Cove, is so cool. Even though the kids are in a dense woods when they are brought back to Narnia and not on a beach, this scene is still gorgeous. While the four kids suspect that they have been brought back to Narnia, Edmund, played by Skandar Keynes, sees a mysterious ruins in the distance and remembers that there were no ruins in Narnia when they were there last. While exploring the ruins, I like this shot of Lucy here, for she's standing where she stood with Mr. Tumnus near the end of the last film, watching Aslan walk away. Yet neither she or her siblings realize yet that they are in the ruins of their old castle of Cair Paravel. But then Susan finds one of their old chess pieces, and Lucy suddenly realizes the truth, that they have returned to Narnia and they are in the ruins of their old castle of Cair Paravel. Back at the Telmarine Castle, Miraz realizes that the old Narnians still exist. This Telmarine throne room is outstanding. The design and detail that went into this is mind-blowing. And Miraz lies to the council here and says that his nephew was adopted by Narnians and shows the council a dwarf, who is one of the Narnians. When the four kids find their old treasure house, I like how the story includes Edmund's torch in the book. The torch kind of bookends the story with it appearing at the beginning and Edmund talking about it at the very end. This treasure chamber is one of my favorite movie sets ever. It is so well done. I love how each of the kids have their own chest with an ancient statue of them behind it from when they reigned as kings and queens. The film's model-making department made 2,500 replica pieces of golden treasure. One of my favorite moments in the film is this, when Peter sees his statue and finally goes to his chest to retrieve his sword and shield, the gifts that were given to him by Father Christmas in the first film. Later, the dwarf Trumpkin, played by Peter Dinklage, is almost drowned, but is rescued by the Pevensies. His prosthetics took 3 hours to apply, and on his first day on set, he was bitten by sandflies and fell into a river. Producer Mark Johnson joked that they were lucky that he returned after his first day. Seeing Peter's sword and recognizing it, Trumpkin realizes that these kids are the ancient and beloved human kings and queens of Narnia. And I like how Edmund wins this short duel, for it not only proves that the kids are who they say they are, but I like how it hints that the kids, in this case Edmund, still have their fighting skills from growing up in Narnia before. In this film, Nickabrick is supposed to be a descendant of Ginnabrick, the dwarf from the previous movie who was in league with the White Witch. During filming, Ben Barnes was not a fan of the shirt that he wore for a majority of the film since it had flowers on it, but he loved the armor that he got to wear. Even though this set is really cool, I always thought that it was too tall for it to be a believable home for a badger and dwarves. I would have made the ceiling shorter. I love this bit with Miraz placing one of Susan's arrows through an old illustration of the Pevensies as kings and queens of Narnia. Spanish actor Sergio Castellito took on the role of Miraz because his kids liked the first film so much. That water is so clear. This filming location is gorgeous. In here, Lucy sadly learns the hard way that not all of the creatures of Narnia are friendly. Some have become wild. For this scene, instead of shooting on a location in Poland, the filmmakers discovered that it was cheaper to film it in a studio and bring in fake ferns than to bring all of the necessary equipment to Poland. And here is the warrior mouse Ribici, one of my favorite characters from the whole Narnia series. I like this original line from the book. It was Edmund that says it in the book, but Peter says it in the film. This scene is based on one of my favorite parts of the book, where Lucy is the only one who sees Aslan, and it shows how far Edmund has come to being a better person because he's the only one who believes her this time, when he was the one being a bully and making fun of her throughout most of the first story. But sadly, in the film, he doesn't really get to do that, which was a bummer for me. The old Narnians were designed to look wilder in this film due to hiding from Telmarin persecution for so long. Most people don't know this, but Tilda Swinton, who played the White Witch in the first film, returned in a cameo role as a centaur for this scene. Again, the filming locations of this film are just breathtaking. Now the Pevensies and Trumpkin finally decide to trust Lucy about Aslan showing them the way across the gorge. And the costumes made for this film, made by Isis Masenden, are some of the best costumes I've ever seen. Even though this is not at all how Caspian meets the Pevensies in the novel, I think this scene is pretty cool, with a quick sword fight between Peter and Caspian. And now, seeing Peter's sword, Caspian knows that the horn worked. The actor that voiced Ribici based his vocal performance on Errol Flynn. And here we are at Aslan's house. I like how the Pevensies, being the old kings and queens, get to go first, with Caspian following behind. It shows you how much the Narnians respect them. And the Pevensies now realize that Caspian's army has made their camp at the remnants of the stone table, where Aslan had sacrificed himself in the first film. And this is the battle plan scene, which Peter proposes to attack Miraz's castle. That squirrel is voiced by the film's composer, Harry Gregson-Williams. This entire sequence at Miraz's castle was not in the book, and is perhaps the biggest departure from the original story, but it's still a fun, action-centered sequence. Upon realizing that his friend Dr. Cornelius is not in his study, Caspian changes the plan and decides to go find his mentor while Peter and Susan go to deal with Miraz, which ultimately leads to heavy consequences later on. Caspian is relieved to find Cornelius and frees him, but learning that Miraz is the one who killed his father, Caspian runs off to Miraz's chamber. And Caspian gets there before Peter and Susan do, and demands the truth. Then is conflicted as he wants revenge, but doesn't have the heart to kill his uncle. Ben Barnes based his Spanish accent on Mandy Patinkin in The Princess Bride. And now things start to go south for the heroes. And they get the sense that Peter is trying too hard to prove himself to both himself and the Narnians, which leads to disaster. And Edmund now gives the signal for the Narnians to attack. Miraz's courtyard is the largest set that production designer Roger Ford had ever made at that point in his career. Skandar Keynes slid down a roof and had a $500,000 camera strapped to his legs because they didn't have a stuntman his size to do the shot for him. And Peter realizes too late that they need to fall back and regroup. Miraz makes a dirty move here by firing at both his own troops and the Narnians. And this is the saddest part of the film, with a portion of the Narnian army trapped inside the gate, and Peter has no choice but to flee. During filming, Georgie Henley lost 2 baby teeth. And now the rivalry between Peter and Caspian explodes, each saying that the other is at fault. And now Miraz is crowned king, even though his 2 advisors are secretly plotting against him. The spear used to summon the White Witch is a fragment of her wand from the first film. This is an important scene from the book where Make or Break attempts to bring back the White Witch, but the attempt fails. The codename for this film is Toasty, from the toasted sandwiches that were a favorite snack of the casting crew during filming. After the film's release, Ben Barnes, who plays Caspian, said that he felt that he had been miscast and felt that a younger actor would have been a better fit for the role. He felt more comfortable as Caspian in the next film. I like the fact that Edmund is the one who ultimately deals with the White Witch here, when he was the one who was on her side for a portion of the first film. But now the Telmarine army is advancing. I don't know how long it took to design and create all the armor for this film, but gosh, it looks like a lot of work. Since Lucy is one of the only ones who still believes that Aslan will come to help, Peter sends her away from the war to find him with the hope that Aslan will return. To buy Lucy some time, Caspian comes up with an idea to stall the upcoming battle. And that is for Peter to challenge Miraz to a duel. The reward for victory is total surrender from the losing side. I like how Miraz's advisors manipulate Miraz into accepting the challenge. One of the major things I dislike about this film is the romance between Caspian and Susan. Anna Popplewell had to leave the production for a few days to complete her school exams. At $225 million, this was the most expensive film of 2008, and worldwide, this film was the 10th grossing film of 2008. Anna Popplewell was disappointed that she didn't get to use her bow much in the first film, so that's why she uses it so much in this movie. This duel between Peter and Miraz is one of my favorite sword duels in film history. The action choreography is really good. After a final struggle, after Peter severely wounds Miraz, he gives Caspian the chance to avenge his father. But because Caspian has a noble heart, he lets Miraz live and gives Narnia back to the Narnians. With Miraz wounded, his advisors see their chance and kill Miraz to take the Telmarine throne. Now with their numbers dwindling, Peter, Edmund, and Susan lead the Narnians into one final desperate charge against the Telmarine forces. And now Lucy finally is reunited with Aslan, who is 15% larger in this film than in the first one. And Liam Neeson returns to voice the character. With the Narnians in desperate need of help, the trees finally awaken and arrive at the battle to turn the tide. At the bridge, the remaining Telmarine forces see Aslan and Lucy and make the mistake to charge. Aslan summons the river god to dispose of most of the Telmarine forces. And now the other Clemency children see Aslan and bow to him. And Caspian is named Narnia's new king. And Reepicheep is healed of his wound and his tail is restored. I always love that Aslan does this, not to restore the mouse's honor, but because the mice showed Aslan kindness by biting away the ropes that bound him at the stone table so many years before. And now Aslan makes a door in the air for any Telmarines who wish to return to their original world. Our world of Earth. I love Reepicheep here, for he is willing to trust Aslan by leaving Narnia, but that is not his path. Peter sadly reveals that he and his siblings must return home. He also reveals that he and Susan will never come back to Narnia. Again, I dislike the whole romance thing between Caspian and Susan. It makes no sense to me. But I do love the song that was chosen for this scene here, which is The Call, sung by Regina Spektor. I like that the writers honored the last line in the book about Edmund's torch by putting it in the film. This film was the 215th live-action film produced by Disney. Thank you for watching the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian with me, the Real Movie Buff. I hope it was a magical experience. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again next time.